Ultimately, fiduciary management aims to give greater resource and expertise to trustees and sponsors. Given how busy trustees are with other day-to-day responsibilities, either in their jobs or with other trustee responsibilities that are non-investment related, having access to this additional resource, either to make the scheme more nimble or to access greater expertise and wider opportunity sets, can provide significant benefits. It's also worth noting that a fiduciary management structure can also provide greater accountability for the trustees and the sponsor in securing member benefits. This accountability is really what sets it apart from the traditional advisory and other approaches. Everyone. Joking aside, I do think that fiduciary management should be a consideration for all schemes at certain points. Every trustee board, in conjunction with their sponsor, will review funding, strategy and investment implementation as part of a regular cycle. So as part of this, it's only natural to consider the options that you have, fiduciary management being one of them. Ruling in or out fiduciary management, therefore, as part of this process, can allow the trustees to consider all the options available to them and enable them to make the right choice. There are plenty of firms out there who can provide support during this time, or trustees can do it by themselves. But there are two things that I would suggest trustees consider. One is perhaps cost, and being aware that there can be an upfront cost of using a third-party firm. But actually, studies have found, and particularly the CMA review in their final report in 2018 discovered that fees can be a lot cheaper when a selection process is run correctly, up to 24%. So it's perhaps worthwhile utilising one of those third-party firms. The other consideration is making sure you pick the right firm to help you when you consider fiduciary management. And that is about making sure you're aware of the conflicts of those firms as much as you're aware of the different options they bring to you. We are very much aware that there are firms out there who also offer the more traditional advisory approaches, who run these selection exercises or help trustees in deciding whether they need fiduciary management. And if they're trying to help you decide whether you need fiduciary management, but also offer other services which perhaps counter fiduciary management, there can be some conflicts which may creep in. And being aware of those as trustees can help you make informed decisions. Ultimately, finding the right partner is a very scheme-specific choice. Understanding before you start what's driving your search and what the key criteria are for you will be really important. There are plenty of firms out there who can help you in this, but trustees can also run the search themselves. It's really important, though, when you go out and look, that you consider the range of fiduciary management providers available in the market and make sure you can marry up the needs you have with the provider's services. The CMA, in their final report in 2018, discussed the fact that there were 17 fiduciary management providers in the market and also covered the various backgrounds that those fiduciary managers had, some from asset management, some consultants and some actuaries. So again, understanding what's driving your search and where you need your support may steer you to one or more of these groups, or perhaps as trustees, if you're running the process yourself, you would want to explore across the different groups to understand which one might be the best fit for you. So where do you start? Well, if you're running the search yourself, as I've said, it's probably worthwhile speaking to at least a few firms and gaining a bit of inside information on how they work, the services they offer, and how they might meet your needs. If you're working in partner with a selection consultant, understanding the right selection consultant and then having them support you in that journey is also important. Both of these can be found through either looking in the CMA's report or actually just inputting into Google a brief request as to, I'm looking for a fiduciary manager in the UK or a selection consultant. And those should give you significant lists of firms you can speak to. Ultimately though, if you've got other people you know in the industry, trustees or providers, recommendations can go a long way in helping you find the right choice. As part of going through the process of understanding whether you need a fiduciary manager and then selecting your fiduciary manager, it may be that your governance model has fallen out of these discussions. Understanding what it is you need from them and how you'd like a fiduciary manager to help you may have driven you to a particular type of governance model. However, if it hasn't, it's not something to be concerned about. Remember, fiduciary management is a service, not a product, and therefore you can tailor the structure you need from your fiduciary manager however you would require. That means having a dialogue with them, getting them to understand what it is your needs are, and then perhaps asking them for advice on how they work with other schemes to meet those needs. This process is one that fiduciary managers like ourselves have been more than experienced in and will understand about how we can possibly help you and structure the right governance model to meet your needs. And remember, the one thing here is you will have been quoted a service for a particular cost. If you don't need all those services, you may find the cost will also reduce. So it's worthwhile making sure you get the right model and service for your needs. Fiduciary managers will work with you at outset to set clear parameters and metrics of the service they will offer and how they'll be measured. This is something that perhaps differs to the more traditional approaches of advisory or implemented consulting, where perhaps the metrics aren't overly clear in how a successful outcome is reached. By understanding these clear metrics at outset, it enables you to measure your fiduciary manager on an ongoing basis, and at points if you decide to do reviews, such as maybe a triennial review in line with your valuation. It's important to be aware that there are financial metrics, and as part of the CMA review carried out in 2018, there will be a performance standard which can enable you to measure your fiduciary manager against other fiduciary managers' performance. However, performance and financial metrics are just one side of the coin, and it's worth remembering that clear communication, delivery of service, and making sure that your fiduciary manager meets the whole of your governance requirements and those qualitative as well as quantitative metrics are delivered.